Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Let's start our video with a story in which an angry and aggressive customer doesn't follow easy steps written for him and ruins device. Wants it repaired for free, but OP warned him that he would be charged for it. Let's see what happened next, right after a short pause. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Tech-savvy you are not. Around 7 years ago, I used to be a manager at a very large telecommunications provider here in Australia. As the manager, I would deal with the usual menagerie stuff, the training of staff, booking in customers, dealing with walk-ins, and, you guessed it, dealing with the entitled yellers having adult tantrums. I would pride myself on being a very professional guy in these situations, firm, fair, and would not submit to the customer is always right crap. I'd defend my staff when warranted. I would also do my best to find reasonable outcomes for the customers. In comes Mr. Stubborn Idiot Farmer, Mr. Sif for here on out, known affectionately in store by other names. Mr. Sif came into the store one morning and sat down with one of my staff, sales consultant Sarah. Sarah was very sweet, great at her job, and a lovely person to be around. She didn't deal with the angry customers as well as the other sales consultants, so I would lend her a hand as much as I could to deal with those situations. Mr. Sif was after a new SIM card for his phone as his current one stopped working. We did SIM replacements daily, and it was a very simple process of assigning his mobile plan to a different SIM card. He was already in a bit of a mood, so instead of doing the whole sales question thing, I had Sarah quickly pop one out for him and send him on his way with some written instruction of how to install the SIM for his particular phone, Samsung Note 5, as the SIM would not fully activate for a few hours. Here's where it got fun. The next day, guess who's back in with the phone that's still effing not working, you idiots? He kept going, shouting other obscenities like, "Where's the dumb bee that gave me the new SIM?" Sarah was on that day again with me and looked at me mortified. I told her to jump out to the back room, office in the store where we kept the phone stock, etc., and that I would deal with them. In situations like this, I would give the customer a free coffee voucher and send them out of the store to give me time to do a once-over on the device. What I found made me laugh and made me angry at the same time. "What a F-wit," I yelled in the back room. For a bit of context here, SIMs come in 3 sizes, full, micro, and nano. His phone took a micro-size SIM. It seems he completely ignored our written instructions and tried to wedge a nano-size SIM in the SD card slot and inversely the SD card in the micro-slim slot. This resulted in the SIM reader contact points being shredded and the nano SIM to be fully stuck in the SD slot. The SD was ruined as well. Bye-bye photos and other things. I felt a bit sorry for him, as I guess it wasn't his strong suit, but that attitude and the way he talked to Sarah left me very unwilling to go to huge lengths to help. After a while, he came back into the store grumbling about crap effing coffee, then exclaimed, "So where the F is my phone? You better have it fixed this time." I explained bluntly his mistake, referring to our notes we hand-wrote for him. I also let him know, unfortunately, that the phone would not be eligible for a warranty claim as it was user-inflicted physical damage. He didn't like that. After the yelling, he insisted that it be sent away for repair and that we would charge him nothing for effing me around. As the manager, it's at my discretion if I send something like this away, but it's overall a loose company policy that if a valued customer wants a resolution, then we can send it off with a report and a special account rep gets in touch with the customer and give them their options. In cases like this with physical damage, if it's deemed to be caused by the user, then we won't replace or fix it for free. It would be at the customer's expense. As I deal with at least one of these types of issues a week, I assured him that he would be charged for the postage back and the repair if he sends it off. He wouldn't have any of it. Fine, okay. I'm happy to maliciously comply with your request, sir. After a little consoling of Sarah, she got back out onto the floor and had a cracker of a day. The process takes a few weeks, but sure enough, 2 weeks later, we get a red-faced Mr. Sif marching back into the store, clutching a phone bill. He'd been charged $350 for the repairs he requested and the postage. At that point, I just brushed all his complaints off and gave him a number to call for complaints and said I did make him aware of this and showed him my statement on his account before submitting the repair report. He grumbled and walked off, never to be seen again for the rest of the time I was there. Sarah and I are still friends, and thankfully she got out of retail, like I did. Never again. Imagine working in a major telco store and watching grown men throw tantrums like 2-year-olds over charges they created. And our second story. Lord of the Rings crystal figurines. I, male, sci-fi and fantasy nerd, was wandering around my local mall while waiting for my wife to finish clothes shopping with my daughter. They take forever trying things on. I noticed a new store that was filled with ceramic dragons, incense burners, and lots of crystals. One display had little cut crystal Lord of the Rings figurines. I was checking them out when a young boy came up and asked if I could get down the Smog dragon figure for him. I looked around and his mother was a few feet away and nodded that it was okay. They then went to the register at the back of the store to pay. I moved another dragon from the back of the shelf to fill in the gap. That's when a lurking Karen grabbed my hand while saying, "Now that you're done helping that child, I need you to help me get down a castle incense burner right now. I don't have all day." She was not your typical looking Karen, about 5'10" and whipcord thin. She was dressed in a zebra-striped ensemble, shirt, pants, and matching shoes. As I tried to pull my hand away, I told her I don't work here and to let go of my hand. She had a very strong grip. She got a very mad expression on her face and started rambling about me not wanting to help her because she was black. I repeated that I don't work here, and she came back with, "I just saw you help that boy, stop lying." Having had enough of this craziness, I jerked my hand forcefully away, and unfortunately, she came along for the ride. I did mention that she had a very strong grip. She toppled over into the display of 5 shelves full of crystal. This finally got her to release my hand as she tried to stop her fall. I panicked and moved swiftly to the entrance and off in the direction of my wife and child. I've never been good with confrontation. As we were leaving the mall 20 minutes later, I saw the Karen arguing with 2 police officers and the shopkeeper. I didn't see any blood on her hands as she waved them in the officers' faces, so I guess she only hurt her pride. She was yelling that it was their other worker that shoved her into the display. The shopkeeper kept saying that there was no other worker. I also heard her tell one officer they hadn't got the security cameras running yet, as they just opened. I hustled my family past before Karen noticed me. I know it wasn't my finest moment, but where do these Karens get off putting their hands on people? I've never been back to the store. The question of the day for sure, where do these people get the idea that putting their hands on someone else is okay? The saddest part of this is that the young boy knew to politely ask for help, and if Karen had just politely asked, she would have gotten help instead of going face first into shelves of crystal. Wonder how much that damage cost her. And our next story. Stick to the scheduling? You got it. So about a year ago, I started a new job in specialized technical support for electronic devices. For most of these products and issues, we have a very extensive list and database of information from which follow procedures. One of these databases is specifically made for self-guided trainings and other informative things that we usually get assigned whenever needed. For these assigned trainings, you usually get a few more minutes than actually needed, but sometimes a lot more. For the last few of these trainings, I followed the schedule, finished my training, and went back to work. Usually this meant I had about half or more of the time assigned left over, meaning I could either knock some more work out or touch up some previous interactions. This was until a few weeks ago. Manager: "Hey OP, I noticed you're skipping out of training times and use this time for other things." Me: "Usually I have time over. This allows me to do stuff regarding previous interactions and lets me work clean." Manager: No, this is not what that time's assigned for. Fill in the time on those trainings and stay on that status. Whatever you do, I don't want you to do different work on training hours." Me: "All right, no work? Understood, loud and clear." The next 2 weeks, we get assigned more and more trainings for new launches, arising issues, and more. Each day, about 3 to 4 hours worth of trainings, give or take. These trainings are straightforward, and if you use the right resources, can be finished within 45 to 60 minutes if you read clearly and follow the right information. More time really is not needed, and if there's nothing to do anymore, well, I guess I won't do work as requested. Needless to say, I've been enjoying about 15 plus hours per week freely doing chores in the house and other useful stuff on training time. At least I'm no longer doing work outside of the assigned hours. Bad me. Sounds like OP's boss knows it's bullcrap and wants to give him a break. What do you guys think? And our last story. Encroachment on property. 4 years ago, I purchased a 2-acre property on a wooded hillside in a small town. My property was next to a small HOA-governed development on the same hillside, but because of the HOA having a bad reputation with local surveyors, it took me a year to get a survey done. After the survey, it was discovered that an adjoining neighbor had built a retaining wall adjacent and uphill from my property that encroached significantly onto my property. The neighbor also improved on the encroachment, paving a large area and building a couple sheds. The property is inside city limits and needed to have a permit granted, which was not. I spoke to the city employee that would have recorded the retaining wall and permit and was told that the request for the wall was made more than once and the request was denied. Because of the seclusion of the property, the owner just went ahead and did it without survey and without permission. When I discovered this, following my survey, I spoke to the owners. He said I was lying and to get off his property or he'd call the police. I contacted his HOA and was simply ignored. I've now partitioned my property into 2 1-acre pieces, and the encroachment is on the piece I'm going to sell. Additionally, the unpermitted retaining wall is crumbling, falling away further, encroaching on my property, and creating a safety issue. Armed with the survey results, photographs, and evidence of the city's denial of the permit, I consulted with a real estate attorney to explore my legal options. Together, we formulated a plan to address the encroachment, ensure the safety of the property, and protect my rights as a landowner. Under the attorney's guidance, we initiated legal proceedings to compel the neighbor to rectify the encroachment issue and address the safety concerns posed by the crumbling retaining wall. The legal route provided a structured and formal approach to resolving the dispute, emphasizing adherence to property boundaries, city regulations, and safety standards. In the courtroom, the evidence spoke volumes, and the judge ruled in my favor, compelling the neighbor to rectify the encroachment and address the safety issues promptly. This legal victory not only protected my property rights, but also served as a deterrent for future violations within the HOA-governed development. Kudos for taking the proactive step of consulting with a real estate attorney and pursuing legal action. It's great that the evidence presented in court spoke volumes and resulted in a favorable ruling. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.